What do you guys, when you hear the word fail, the word failure, what do you feel? It grabs you, right? Right? It's powerful feeling. People are like programmed to hate failure and to fear this word, fail. And I would suggest to you, we probably have to redefine this word. Because I think we've been misled. We've been taught what failure is, and it inhibits us from doing great things. Right? Failure, I'm not talking about the kind of failure that leads to cruise ships going down, right? Those are huge mistakes, right? Failure, I'm not talking about that kind of failure where people die. I'm talking where people don't take a chance with something, right? The first time we're introduced to this fear of failure is in school, right? You get that F on the paper you just wrote, and you feel that invasive feeling of you've done something wrong. And schools teach kids to not try something new, to don't do anything new. Just follow what I told you, right? They teach kids that there's one right answer out there, and that their job is simply to go out and find the answer that already exists for them. And this follows us as we go through high school, as we go to college, and then we make it into the working world. And in the working world, we're taught, even though we go into the working world wanting to do great things, too often the rest of the people around us make us afraid to do new things. So we stick with the status quo. We start to believe that everyone who's older than us, they must know better, right? So we take no chances in business, and we look to just get the next mediocre result out of what we can possibly do without jeopardizing our jobs. And we think this word, perfection, that's what we should be aiming for. But in fact, perfection is an absolute myth. Perfection is actually the wrong word. Perfection, for me, is failure. Why? Because when we believe in perfection, we often don't do anything. We're so afraid that if we don't get it 100% right, then maybe we shouldn't do it, because everyone will notice that it's not perfect. And it leads to companies and people not doing anything. I can't do this perfectly, I don't have all the information, I don't have all the resources, so we delay, and we delay, and we delay, and we do nothing. I would say that we need to give people permission to fail again. We need to give kids permission to fail. Why? Because once you give people permission to fail, you unleash in them a lot of other habits. The habit of exploration. If you can fail, you're allowed to go out into new territory and try out new things. If you're given permission to fail, you're willing to go for that alternate, that plan B that no one else thought about. You're willing to take a little bit more risk. You're willing to push the bubble in some different places. Permission to failure gives you permission to be brave and to be bold and to try again, right? And I'm not the only one who says it. Walt Disney, try and fail. Just don't fail to try. A man who bankrupted himself at least 3 times. But think about what we think about him today. Edison says, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. He understood that failure was a natural part of the process. If you were to do anything great, you would obviously fail because you are trying things that others don't dare to do. John F. Kennedy said, only those who dare to fail greatly ever achieve greatly. The Wright brothers, they didn't even believe that in their lifetime someone would be able to fly. But they kept trying, and they created prototypes, and eventually they did. And Einstein, one of our greatest thinkers, said, a person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. He failed out of school as a kid. He didn't write until he was 7 years old. He didn't make it into the university he wanted to go to. But he pushed the limits of what was possible because he wasn't afraid of the ridicule of his ideas, right? And this man is a failure. A tremendous failure. He got fired from his own company. He launched the Apple III, which if any of you remember that piece of crap, right? He launches products before they're ready and then fixes it later because he understands things. And so do the people at Google and Facebook and all these modern, fast-moving companies understand that failing is part of the process. They live by this rule. Fail fast, fail cheap. Everything is a prototype. Everything starts in beta. You have an idea, you launch it in beta, you fix it in the end. Right? Everything that comes out of Apple, the first mouse didn't quite work right, but they sent it out there anyway, and they got feedback. Because if you're willing to fail, people will be willing to give you feedback. I just recently had a meeting with people at Facebook. And one of the things they told me as we were talking is that they have this written up on the wall. Fail harder, move fast, and break stuff. Don't be fearful. Well, today they're going for a $100 billion worth IPO launch. This is a company that tells its people, please fail, because they're not satisfied doing something that everyone else is doing. They want to do great things. And I think this should happen in our education system. Kids should be encouraged to fail. Why do we just ask them for the results of what they created? Why don't we ask them, what was the process? Where did you fail? What did you learn with each failure? Why don't we let them explore? Why does the teacher have to give the answer? Why can't they go out and discover it for themselves? In business, 99% of businesses never dare to do something different. Businesses need to promote their people to fail. They need to give incentives for failure. Why is it 30% of companies' budgets dedicated to doing something that's totally new that would probably fall apart, but it's okay if it does, right? Companies should have funerals for projects. Why? Because a project that goes bad, it's going to happen. It's a natural part of life. Failure happens. We learn from it, we move on. And they need to learn to prototype new things. Try it out. This was the first Apple. This was a prototype. This was not ready for market. But they were willing to show it to people and say, tell me what you think, right? Societies can help people become great failures, right? There's Startup Weekend, which we did here at Seriously Creative. There is over in Europe, the Hack Forward. All of these initiatives help startups get started by giving them money. Universities who help you prototype is another good example of this. So I would say failure is success. And if you ever tried, you ever failed, no matter, try again. Fail again, fail better are the words of Samuel Beckett, who understood better than anyone. If we dare to fail, we will do great things. Thank you.